Hello everyone, this is Jason Earn with Arkshire Financial. I want to welcome you out to our overview today. We'll be discussing a lot of great information in regards to financial principles that so many families can apply to their situation, you guys, to make sure they're set up for a great retirement, and just making sure that your family's taken care of so you can leave a legacy. So when you look at what we do at Arkshire Financial, it's very simple. There's three things that we do as a company. The first thing that we do is we help people manage and eliminate their debt. The second thing we do is we help people save money. And when I actually look at this one right here, there's so many people that save their money, but the question is, where are they putting their money? Most of the time we're putting our money in areas where it really doesn't have a chance to grow, and bottom line is that brings us to number three, which is we help people earn interest on the money they save. You want to make sure that when you save your money, you're actually earning a great return on the money you're putting away, because bottom line is taxes and inflation can obviously hamper that down. So when we actually look at where people put their money, let's take a look at it. All right, these are the most popular areas that people put their money. So the first area is where 80% of the population puts their money, and that is the bank. Why do we put our money in the bank? Really, it's because of safety. All right, maybe convenience, but mainly safety and guarantees. The problem with the bank is the returns are very low. You're talking about anywhere from 0.25% to 1% in returns. So the second area is where 15% of the population puts their money, is going to be in investments or the stock market, okay? And they want to get a higher rate of return on their money. The problem is when your money's in the stock market, you can obviously lose a lot of money because of that volatility. The third area is where 5% of the population puts their money, and that's going to be in insurance. Now, insurance is interesting because a lot of people don't really think of this area as a place that they would put their money. But bottom line is that there's major tax advantages here in insurance, and really it's all possible because of Internal Revenue Code, which is 7702 Section A, you guys. And really what's great about this is, bottom line is that it basically states that they passed a law, okay, that any money put into an insurance product can be accessed 100% tax-free as an investment. So really when we look at this, we look at all these different areas, what if we told individuals, okay, that they can have a product that can have the safety and guarantees of the bank, the potential return of the stock market, obviously high rates of return, and then tax-free money in retirement, and actually tax-free money when it transfers over to your heirs. What if we were able to, have a product out there that would actually take the strengths of all three and put them into one? Wouldn't that sound like a great product? And anyone would say, of course, that would sound like a phenomenal product. And does that really exist? And the answer is yes, it does exist. Okay, it's called an index plan. And really it's all possible because of Internal Revenue Code, okay, 7702 Section A, that obviously talks about accessing money tax-free. So bottom line is, when we look at Internal Revenue Code 401k, that was actually started in 1978. So many people know about that. So many people out there that have 401ks or these qualified plans. And then when we look at 7702, all right, or Internal Revenue Code 7702 Section A, most people haven't heard about that. That was created in 1913, and really it was only designated for the wealthy. So what we're doing is we're showing people a product that our company is bringing to the masses that was usually only reserved for wealthy people. And that's really important to know, because when you look at wealthy people, where do they put their money? Okay, well, there's obviously places they put their money that the average American out there does not know about, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. So moving on to this next page right here, obviously Albert Einstein, one of the greatest minds of our time, talked about compound interest as the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. The problem with most Americans is we pay it, we don't earn it. Bottom line is you want to put yourself in a position to have your money work for you, and you not always working for your money, okay, or being a slave to your money. So when we look at compound interest and we put it in terms of the financial world, we call it the rule 72. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take the number 72 and we're going to divide it by the annual rate of interest that your money is earning to determine the number of years it will take for your money to double. So when we look at this, it's really interesting because let's use a 4% return. Let's say that your investments were yielding a 4% return, okay, or a 4% interest rate. What we would do in this situation is we're going to take 72, we're going to divide it by 4, Obviously, the answer is 18. So what that means is your money is going to double every 18 years. So in this illustration, we're going to take a 30-year-old who has $10,000 in an investment. And let's say, for example, this 30-year-old obviously, was earning a 4% return on his money. Well, what this means, you guys, again, his money is going to double every 18 years. So when he hits age 48, his 10,000 is going to turn to 20,000. By the time he hits age 66, his 20,000 will grow to, 40,000. So we always ask individuals, is that a good return on your money? Is that the way, you really want your money to grow? And some people say, yeah, it's a great return on your money. And I'm here to tell everyone, that's not a great return. It's actually a horrible return on your money. If you're earning anything less than 4%, you guys, taxes and inflation are beating you out. So, that's obviously how your money would grow at a 4% return. So let's take a 6% return. 2 more points on top of that 4%. Okay, we're going to take 72. We're going to divide it by 6. Obviously, the answer is 12. That means your money's going to double every 12 years. So we're going to take the same 30-year-old who had $10,000 in, his investment account or retirement account, and his investments are yielding a 6% return. Well, by the time this person hits age 42, his 10,000 turned to 20,000. By the time he hits age 54, 20 grew to 40. By the time he hits age 66, 40 grew to 80. Okay, a little bit better in regards to growth on the money, right? You want to make sure your money is actually growing. So what if we were earning, say, a 12% return? And I always like to tell people, with the products that we specialize in, they're going to allow you to participate in this type of growth, anywhere from 6 to 7 to 8 to all the way up to 12 and above. And really, when you look at this, 72 divided by 12 is 6. Now your money's doubling every 6 years. So if your money's doubling every 6 years because of that 12% return, all right, I always ask people this question. I say, where can you get double-digit returns? Such as this 12% or 10% or 11% or whatever it is. And the answer would be, real estate and the stock market. Those are the only 2 places that you're really going to have a chance to get double-digit returns. So let's show you what happens when you take the same 30-year-old who has $10,000 in an investment and, his money's doubling every 6 years. Just watch this, okay? By the time he hits 36, the 10 grew to 20, 42, all right? 20 grew to 40, 48, 40 grew to 80, 54, 80 grew to 160, and 60, 160 grew to 320,000. And then by age 66, 320,000 turned into what? A whopping 640,000. So, it's all about having your money in the right area. The difference between a 4% annual interest rate versus a 12% annual interest rate is $600,000. All right, $600,000 is equivalent to a 20-year salary of a person who works at an annual salary of $30,000 a year. So, what I always tell people is, of course someone's not always going to get a 12% return. This is for illustration purposes only. But I think the real question is, are you giving yourself even a chance to earn that interest rate? Because if you're putting your money in CDs, if you're putting your money in a money market account, you know that you're not going to get a great return, okay? Obviously, there's even a lot of investments that won't give you that type of return because, bottom line is when people put their money in investments, they're always trying to beat the market, all right, such as the S&P or let's say the Dow Jones. And a lot of times, I'd say 90% of the time, a lot of those investment accounts do not beat the market. So, we're going to show you guys how you can get a great return by being attached to an index product. Either it's linked to the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, and obviously there are different, indices you can pick out there. So let's talk about the truth about market volatility. The truth about market volatility. How does this work? This is one of my favorite parts of the presentation because it talks about how loss and gain work in the stock market. So let's kind of illustrate this, and let's talk about $100,000, in an investment account, and let's say the market took a 25% dive in, let's say, 2013. Just for illustration purposes. So if you had a 25% loss in the market, all right, what's your account value go down to? You have your principal at 100,000. Your account value goes down to 75,000. The question I always ask individuals is this: what does it take to get back to principal? What does it take to get back to 100,000? And you know what? Some of you guys are watching this. You're wondering, what does it take? Most of you would probably answer this. It takes 25% to get back from 75 to 100. to get back to principal. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't. It takes a 33% gain to get back to principal from the 75,000 mark. This is the problem with the stock market. So many people are, uneducated about this. Let's illustrate it a step further. Let's say that you didn't have a 25% loss, but you had a 33% loss. What is your account value at? 67,000. What does it take to get back to principal amount? All right, to that 100,000 mark, 50%. When we take it one step further, this is actually what occurred in 2008, you guys, when the market crashed. And this is when so many investment accounts, retirement accounts, had a 50% hit, on their accounts. They had a loss, you guys, and it was big. And this is actually when, the Great Recession started. And, so many people out there had more than $100,000, but let's just say that, it was $100,000. Imagine the people who had $1 million. You can kind of get the idea. But if you had $100,000 and you had a 50% loss like we've seen in 2008, your account value went down to 50. And here's the interesting part. What do you need to get back to 100,000 to get back to that principal amount? You need 100% return. Even 6 or 7 years later, you guys, there's so many people out there that have not got back to principal. They have not got 100% return, on their money. And that's the big issue. You see advisors on TV and they're always saying, hey, you know what? You lost 27% of the market, but you noticed this last year, there's a 32% gain. And what people are wondering, they're wondering in their mind, like, wait, I know that you're saying that we lost money, which we did. And I know you're saying that we gained it back, but it's not back at the principal amount, because you're saying I lost 27, but I got a 32 the next year. Why am I not back at principal? And it obviously comes down to this illustration of how loss and gain work in the market. So, obviously when we look at this, you guys, a 25% loss has to be followed by a 33% gain. A 33% loss has to be followed by a 50% gain, and a 50% loss has to be followed by a 100% gain. All right, just to kind of put that out there so you guys really can see that. So let's take it one step further and let's talk about the consequence of a negative interest credit. Let's say you had $100,000 in the market. Market took a 50% dive like we saw in 2008. Your account value is down to 50, just like we've seen a little bit earlier in the previous illustration. But let's say that the market gave you a 50% return. All right, what's your account value at? This is what we were talking about. It's at 75,000. If you lost 50 and you gain the same amount back the next year, all right, obviously with a plus in front of it, bottom line is that your money is now worth 75,000. What if we were able to offer protection from market loss using an index strategy? All right, obviously this asset class called indexing is where so many people are putting their money today because they're scared to put their money in the market. But let's show you what happens if they have their money in an index strategy. If you had $100,000 in this indexed plan, all right, what if we said, hey, you know what? We're just going to give you a 0%. Market goes down, takes a 50% dive. We give you a 0% credit. What's your money stay at? It stays at 100,000. Your principal is still the same. But what if we said, hey, you know what? When there is a year where there's gains, we have a bull market, instead of getting a 50% return, what if we were to cap it out and say, hey, we'll give you a 25% return? What does that bring your account value to? 125,000. So really the difference is about 50,000 here, and again, think about your money, so many of you out there work hard to earn your money. I don't care if you're even in a profession where you earn great money. Bottom line is this, you guys, you gotta know the value of a dollar, and you want to make sure that you're protecting your money. It's as simple as that. So when we look at, how taxes can really impact our retirement, let's take a look at the 3 different tax categories. The first category we have is the taxable or tax now category. And what falls here is your checking account and savings account. What's really the role of, say a checking account and savings account? I look at it like as, convenience, liquidity, be able to move your money around, pay your bills. But when we look at like a savings account, I don't think, a lot of, families out there understand, what this is really for. It's for you to have emergency funds set aside. And if your expenses were $2,000 a month, you need to have at least 3 months put away, which is $6,000. All right. If you want to be in a great position, you want to have 6 months put away, which is $12,000 if your expenses were $2,000 a month. There's some of you guys out there who may earn 10 or 20. You obviously know what needs to be put away because your expenses are a lot more higher. So we want to make sure that we have anywhere from 3 to 6 months put away of emergency funds to be in a great position a year. All right. Obviously, when you look at checking accounts, savings accounts, CDs, money market, if you had enough money in these accounts to earn interest, okay, more than likely you're going to earn interest in a CD, all right, or obviously a money market account. You are taxed immediately on the money you earn. If you have purchased individual stocks or mutual funds, and there's gains in those stocks or mutual funds, and you sell those shares off, well, you get taxed on the gains. So really, in this category, all these financial accounts that are out there, bottom line is you're taxed immediately. Let's take a look at the tax deferred category or tax later. When you look at the tax deferred category or tax later, this is where your 401ks fall in, 403b, your IRA, 457 plans, or qualified plans. The most common one is going to be a 401k. All right, we're going to show you guys and illustrate what happens, for most people out there when they're contributing to a 401k. Let's say that you earned $100,000. Obviously, this is your pre-tax amount. Okay, most people will have a contribution rate from 5 to 15%. So we'll just use 10% in this example, and we'll say that 10% of 100,000 is 10,000. That's what it is, and that's what's going to go straight into your 401k. You're hoping that this money is going to get a great return on the money that's put in there, from the market. You're hoping it's going to accumulate fast. Obviously, you just want your money to grow, period. And really, what you've done here is you brought down your taxed amount from 100 down to 90, and maybe you'll save yourself some money on taxes. A lot of people look at this as a tax break, but bottom line is this: I don't really look at it like that, because we're going to be discussing why deferring your money today can cost you later on a lot of money. But bottom line is this: if you're earning, let's say, a match with your employer, that's a benefit. If your employer says, hey, you contribute 5 and we'll match up to 5, you know what? Take advantage of that. It's free money. So let's show you what happens when this money accumulates in your 401k. You cannot touch this money until 59.5. If you touch it prior to 59.5, you will be penalized on a state and federal level. All right, and you'll be taxed possibly at a higher tax bracket because you're probably earning more money prior to that age. When you get to 59.5 and you're getting prepared for retirement, bottom line is this: you can touch it then, right? But in this example, we're going to show you if you accumulated $500,000 or $500,000 in your 401k or your IRA account. Let's say in a not worst case scenario, you were taxed 33%. All right, it could be a little bit lower. All right, it could be higher for some people. It all just depends on each individual situation. So don't take this as exactly what it is. But let's just say that it was 33%. That's $165,000 that Uncle Sam is going to take from you. All right, and in retirement, you're left with $335,000. That's if you withdrew all the money at once. Okay. But bottom line is this: if you look at what you're left with, $335,000, $165,000 is a pretty big chunk. And when you look at $165,000, you got to imagine, when you're retiring, your health is not the same. Maybe, hopefully, it is, right? Maybe you don't have as much energy to work if you continue to work as you did when you were in your 30s and 40s. So here's what it comes down to: you probably need this money more than you would need it maybe in your 50s or even your 40s. So a lot of people, what they do is they want to avoid that tax burden of $165,000 or whatever it is, and again, some people will be a little bit lower, but let's just say that, they want to avoid that tax burden. I always have clients come in who are of age, at retirement, and they're like, hey, I want to avoid getting taxed. And I say, hey, bottom line is this: there's RMDs in place, and that stands for required minimum distributions. All right. And bottom line is that if you do not make a minimum withdrawal, okay, on this money by 70.5, all right, let's say you wait till 71, automatic 50% penalty. That means they're going to take not 165, but imagine this, you guys, 250,000, all right, of your money, and that's obviously a major impact in retirement. So when we look at this, there's fees involved that can eat away at your retirement. We'll hit on that, in a second, a little bit more. Market volatility, which we talked about, can affect your money, all right, or affect your retirement dollars as it accumulates over the years. But let's talk about how fees eat away, okay, your retirement account. All right, how do these fees affect you? Okay, let's say that your money was earning an annual interest rate of 8%. Obviously, in this scenario, we're going to talk about an example that has no fee. We're going to talk about an example that has, say a 0.95% fee, which is, for example, like Vanguard. And there's a lot of other financial institutions that will have a 2% fee. Probably the most you'll see, and very rare, is a 3% fee. But let's show you how this, can definitely impact your retirement. If you were earning, let's say, an 8% return, and you had a 30-year-old who had $10,000 in that retirement account, by age 66, he has $160,000. All right, that's obviously with no fee. What if they had their money in an account that had, say, a little bit under 1%, obviously 0.95% fee? Look what happened to that 30-year-old. 10,000 he started out with. At age 66, he has 116,000. Do you think that impacted your retirement? Definitely. Okay, money is money, you guys, and obviously we need to live. And bottom line is this: I know there's people managing our money, but this is how it can affect your retirement. Let's look at what a 2% fee can do. Look at that 30-year-old with 10,000. Okay, look what he has at age 66. A 2% fee can literally cut your retirement in half. That's one of the big issues today. And obviously, if someone had a 3% fee, look at what that did. Okay, 58,000. Major impact on your money. Okay, we always tell people everyone wants to share your retirement. And one thing I tell people, I say, hey, are you planning your retirement? Or are you planning the financial institution's retirement? Are you planning Uncle Sam's retirement? Whose retirement are you planning? And that's really what we're here to do, is help everyday people protect their money, you guys, and make sure that they're getting the most growth out of their money, and making sure they're putting themselves in the best position. So the three-legged retirement stool, this is supposed to be here to support you in retirement. And the first thing that comes to mind is Social Security. When we think about Social Security, one thing I tell people is, it's great if it's there to, obviously help supplement your retirement. And bottom line is this, I'll tell you about Social Security. It's broke and it's broken. If you look at your Social Security statement, here's what it says. It says, Social Security is a compact between generations. Since 1935, America has kept the promise of security for its workers and their families. Now, however, the Social Security system is facing serious financial problems, and action is needed soon to make sure the system will be sound when today's younger workers are ready for retirement. Without changes in 2033, the Social Security Trust Fund will be able to pay only about 75 cents for each dollar of scheduled benefits. What does that mean? All right, it's exhausted. We don't even know if it's going to be around. And I tell people, hey, if it's going to be around, don't you think they need to raise taxes? I think that's a big possibility, and actually it's going to happen. That's truly what I believe in my heart, and that's what we're trying to educate our clients about. So when we look at Social Security as the first leg in this stool that's going to help us, the second thing that was there to support us in retirement was pensions. Think about this, you guys. In the late 70s, there was about 130,000 pensions. Today, there's about 26,000 pensions. And I'll tell you this, they're not your grandma's pension. And for people who, work for the government, let's say on a state, or federal level, or even a local level, so many of your pensions are, getting impacted right now. I saw an article here locally where I live talking about, the local county sheriff's department. They're getting ready for retirement. A lot of the top guys there, because they were going to lose $1,000 a month in their retirement if they didn't, retire by a certain date. And so many people are losing pensions. Here's really what it came down to, you guys. There's not that many pensions today like there used to be. Corporations, guess what? They said, bye-bye to pensions, and when qualified plans or 401ks were introduced in the late 70s, in 1978, they were there to offer, a shelter from taxes. And that was great. If you get to defer dollars back then and eventually cash out at a lower tax rate. But when you look at this, pensions, all right, they were just trying to get rid of them because, based on what I know, here's what it comes down to. 401ks were so much more inexpensive, you guys, to put in place. It put the risk on the employees, all right? Pensions cost corporations a lot of money. It put the risk on the corporations, and they're like, you know what? Let's just do away with pensions and make 401ks or 403bs the primary retirement vehicle. So now you have a two-legged stool, okay, which used to be a three-legged stool. And bottom line is this, you guys, okay? We don't even know if it's going to eventually be a one-legged stool. So we got to, protect ourselves. If we want to get a pension, you more than likely have to go private. And obviously that's what we can do here at our company, Arkshire Financial. So let's take a look at the top marginal tax rate for the top 1%. And again, I'll make this clear. It's for the top 1%, you guys. 1944 to 1945, World War II, you saw 94%, which was the top marginal tax rate. And again, when you think about average, middle class Americans, they're a little bit lower than that. But here's my point: when you look at all this and you look at the years and you look at where the tax, rates were at, middle class was, definitely a little bit lower than that. All right, but I just tell everyone, hey, it's still high. So when they came out with qualified plans at this time frame, right at the end of the 70s, early 80s, look at where taxes were at, 70%, and maybe, middle class American will be at, 55% or 60%. Bottom line, it made sense to contribute to these tax deferred accounts, which we call 401ks today, because if you were going to cash out in the 90s, look how much you saved, okay, in taxes, 30 to 40%. What I tell people today is, you fast forward, top tax rate is 39.6% for the top 1%, and taxes are starting to creep up again. And we see the national deficit, you guys, the government's at debt levels that we've never seen before. And people always ask, are they really going to raise taxes? And you tell me. I believe with all my heart they're going to raise taxes. And we got to prepare ourselves for this. United States owes a lot of money. We'll give you guys a visualized, example of what the debt looks like. As of December 2014, the U.S. debt is larger than the size of the economy. The debt ceiling is currently set at 18 trillion and approaching rapidly. So this is what $1 million looks like. All right, maybe not as big as a pile as you thought. That's what $100 million looks like. Okay, we always jokingly say that that's obviously the most expensive couch in the world, but it's kind of more there just to give you a visual of a lady sitting there on the couch if it was $100 million. This is what $1 billion looks like. You see the gentleman standing next to all that money. All right, and let's give you some perspective on what $1 trillion looks like. That's $1 trillion. All right, and when you look at this, you see the east and west wing of the White House. You see one of the largest planes in the world. Bottom line, you guys, is that we are in a lot of debt. And if you want to get more perspective on where it's at, that's actually what it looks like. United States national debt is soon to pass 20% of the entire world's combined economy. So bottom line is that we know taxes are going to head in a certain direction. And it's very, very important to recognize that. So, Time Magazine, you guys, talking about 401ks. Why it's time to retire the 401k, okay? They basically stated that quote, the ugly truth is that the 401k is a lousy product, a financial plot, unquote. And when you look at this, you guys, Time Magazine made some very great points in this article. I always tell people, if you get a chance, go onto the internet and look up a video. It's 60 minutes. It's called the 401k Fallout. It's about 10 to 13 minutes long. Great video to watch. Give you some perspective on, what happens when the market crashes, all right? And obviously how fees can impact your retirement. And that's very important. And, one thing I will say too is that, some people, will talk about, fees being disclosed more. I just tell people, when you look at 401ks or qualified plans and, yes, fees are disclosed more so now as of 2012 and on today rather than before, but there's still fees. There's still fees that are going to eat at your retirement, and it's important to recognize that. So what other options do you have? We're going to talk about the last category, which is tax exempt or tax never. You see a Roth IRA, which, it's self-directed. You can pick your own investments here, and, there's a lot more investment options is a better way to put it. And you can't touch money till 59 and a half. There's still fees here. There's still market volatility, but the fact is when you contribute, you're going to contribute your after-tax dollars, not pre-tax dollars. So when you're contributing after-tax dollars, and let's say you cash out at 59 and a half, well, all the money is yours. It's tax-free, okay? The one thing I'll tell you about a Roth IRA is there are income limitations. If you start earning $112,000 or more, you can kind of count yourself out of the Roth IRA category because you cannot contribute to a Roth IRA once you start hitting numbers higher than that. All right, and there's also contribution limitations of $5,500, if you're under 50, and $6,500 if you're over 50. You look at a 401k, you can contribute 17,500. It's like, where do they want you to put your money? Probably a 401k, right? Because obviously Uncle Sam's going to get a piece of that. So we'll talk about that more in a second between pre-tax funding and after-tax funding into these investment accounts. What other options do you have? Municipal bonds. You can put your money here, but the returns are very low, 2%. So now let's get into the index plan, all right? And the index plan is interesting because number one, you have tax-deferred growth still. Number two, what if you had access anytime? I tell people, you don't want to access your retirement dollars. That's what an emergency fund is for. But what if you can have access to it? Okay, because it is your money. But I tell people, try not to access it. This is for retirement. All right. Obviously, 401ks, you don't really have access. You have to borrow and then pay back with interest. What if we told you, number three, there's guaranteed, a return? What if you can get a 1% credit on your money if the market went south and there was no risk? So if the market took a 20% hit, negative 20%, you get a 1% credit. All right, and you can earn up to a certain amount based on the product out there, right? Based on what the S&P 500 does. Okay, and then there's protection plan built in. What I like about the protection plan is there's three different types of protection. Okay, obviously protection for your family, which can you can leave a legacy. Have you ever thought about this? You're a breadwinner. What happens to your family if something happened to you tomorrow? Have you ever thought about that? It's very important to think about that because your family is obviously there. And if you've been the breadwinner the whole time, you got to make sure they're taken care of. Number two is protection from market loss, which is what we covered. Okay. And the third thing is, what if you can have protection from judgments, lawsuits, liens? The IRS is coming after you. Well, in an index plan, guess what? You have all that protection. They cannot touch that money. They can touch money in all these other areas, but they can't touch money in this index product, which is phenomenal. That's a big one right there for all you guys out there who are looking at this. So let's talk about the 4 phases of retirement planning. We're going to look at the 401ks versus the index product. Obviously, in the contribution phase, everything is tax favored. You're going to contribute you're going to contribute pre-tax dollars, which is tax favored. And when you fund an index UL, it is after tax dollars. Okay. But when we get to the accumulation phase, again, both of them are tax favored. All right. We pull over to the withdrawal phase now. What happens? You're taxed in the 401k. When you withdraw at 59 and after, 59 and a half and after, you get taxed. And then the index product, okay, it's tax favored. So when we look at this, when we get to the transfer phase, which is death, this is the big one, you guys. What if we told you that when you withdraw your money at retirement, obviously you get taxed the first time, but if something happened to you a few years later and you still have that, good amount of that money left over, what if those same dollars were taxed again when it's transferred to your children? Okay, or your heirs. Bottom line is this: that's double tax. We're showing people, you guys, how they can put themselves in a great position to have, taxes in their favor, right? Where they're not getting taxed, and obviously putting it into an indexed UL product. I always tell people defer taxes now to pay more later doesn't seem to make much sense. All right, but bottom line is this: okay, you want to make sure, okay, that you look at this in a bigger picture. Think about a farmer and his seeds. He's building this harvest or creating this harvest. In the IRA and 401k category, this is really how it looks like if you're a farmer. All right, imagine you being a farmer and you have a seed and they say, hey, you know what? We're not going to tax your seed, but we'll take a third of your harvest. That's what it's like when you put your money in a 401k. When you put your money in an indexed UL product, all right, bottom line is that we say, hey, what if we can tax your seed, but when you build your harvest, you keep it? And obviously I want to make this very clear because some people are thinking about a Roth IRA. There's so many downfalls of a Roth IRA versus the indexed UL, okay? Obviously, limited contribution amount, income limitations, market volatility, fees. Most people, don't always know what to pick in regards to investments. It's probably not going to grow to the degree that you want it to because of that volatility. And there's no protection in it in any of those areas, if you think about it. This index UL, you guys, trumps whatever is out there. And it blew me away as I did my study on this, for so many years. So, as we kind of come to a close and we look at the final test, I want you guys to really think about this, all right? Think about your investments, think about your retirement, think about your money, okay? Can your money potentially grow to achieve the goal you want to achieve, all right? Is it safe enough? And when we look at these two, You think about someone coming across a large lump sum of money. You know, if you won the lottery, if you got a large lump sum of money, where do you put it? I'll tell you, this is what most people do. They put it into an area where it can grow, but it's not safe. Or they put it into an area where it's safe, but it can't grow. What if we told you you could put it into an area where it can grow and it's safe? That's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to let you participate in both of these things. Okay, tax advantages, another big one. Does your retirement, vehicle that you currently utilize, does your investments, that you invest in right now, does it have tax advantages? Does it have protection for your family? Does it have protection on so many levels that we talked about? These are very important questions to ask yourself. And, bottom line is you want to put yourself in a great position, you guys. Reduce your debt, pay yourself first. I tell people put 15% of your, annual salary away. Obviously make more money, build up equity, preserve your estate. It's so important to do this. So we just want to wrap this up tonight, you guys. Bottom line is we hope so many of you guys learned, how this product can impact, your family, how it can impact your retirement and put yourself in a great position. Obviously talk to the person, who obviously, told you about this information or showed you this, this overview, and to get to them and ask them any questions you have, and I'm sure they'll be able to, fill you in with all the information that, you're probably wondering in your mind. But other than that, thank you guys for attending today. Have a great day.